Thank you for tuning in to episode 256 of This Week in Real Estate. The T-Wire podcast broadcast live Wednesday, November 29th. Wait, today's December 6th, 2023. Lawsuits grow and housing slows. This episode is brought to you by listeners and viewers just like you. The whole reason I do this podcast is so people can have one place to go for a quick, professional, succinct analysis of exactly what's happening in the real estate headlines. And I put this out there for people like you, people that are in the industry, investors, lenders, title companies, real estate agents. So if you know somebody that wants it, instead of paying me any kind of money, all I want you to do is just share the show. Let other people know that you listen, because that goes a long way for me. And if you're joining us live, we do broadcast this live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, you can actually comment, and I can display your comment and talk about you. There's Mike V. He says, wow, I'm first? That's a first. Elizabeth Nightingale's also joined us. She says hello from Charleston, South Carolina. Hello, Elizabeth. And if you're joining us on Clubhouse, you can actually join the conversation. Just raise your hand, and the moderators will check you out, make sure you're a real human, and then we'll add you to the show. So you can actually add your voice to the podcast. So thanks, everybody, for listening. We have another fantabulous week of really interesting news headlines. And some of you that have followed the show for a long time, what's up, Eric? Eric is also in the YouTube comments. Some of you that have been following the show for a long time know that I used to do like the industry tea side of the program at the end. And we have switched that around because there is so much industry information that has been happening ever since all of the lawsuits started. And today is no exception. So we have a commission lawsuit, NAR lawsuit update. Brokerages in Florida and Pennsylvania have now been sued. So home sellers in Florida and Pennsylvania are the latest to file lawsuits accusing real estate companies of conspiring to inflate broker commissions under a decade system they allege violates antitrust laws. The suits were filed Monday, December 4th. Both seek class action status. They're the latest suits to generally attack the practice of requiring listing brokers to share commissions with buyer brokers in the wake of the October 31st verdict on the Sitzer-Burnett, which kind of opened this can of worms. Florida suit targets NAR and this list of brokerages: the Keys Company, LPT, Charles Rutenberg, Orlando, United Group, the K Company, Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage, Dalton Wade, Avanti Way Realty, MVP, which is all MVP. Isn't that the, wait, let me make sure, because I don't want to disparage anybody. Those one of these firms, I think, was already in. Yeah, no, wait, that was MV Realty. Okay, maybe MVP is different. Is MVP different? Do y'all know? Florida people.
MV is the one that tried to get you to sign a 40-year listing agreement.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So MVP is different. Okay, just clarity. Florida Realty of Miami, Lifestyle International Realty, Watson Realty, Premier Plus Realty, Future Home Realty, and Michael Saunders and Company. Notably missing from this list are the big guys: Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker. Those that have been defendants in previous cases are not listed, which I think is one of the most interesting things about this lawsuit. It seems to be all the little guys. Well, I'm not from Florida, so I don't know if they're all little guys, but they're littler than KW. And maybe they're just trying to get a lot of settling out of these companies that are afraid of what the big guys just went through, and then the defense costs and litigation. The suit alleges the defendants conspired to impose and implement and enforce an anti-competitive restraints that cause home sellers in Florida to pay inflated commissions in connection with the sale of their homes. Allegations are absurd, says Juan Baixer A.S. Baxares of Florida Realty of Miami. It's just the local sharks trying to cash in on the previous success of the Sitzer Burnett lawsuit. He clarified that by sharks, he meant attorneys. That's what his clarification was. What's up? Do y'all have additional information about this one?
Well, not about that one, but I noticed on Instagram yesterday, I was scrolling along and I got a lawyer ad looking for Douglas Elliman clients that feel like they were mistreated or paid too much. And they had a link and a phone number and all that. So I'm in California, and so it's begun. They're scouting and recruiting.
So they're recruiting class action participants.
Yeah.
Wow. So instead of like, have you been injured? It's, have you been injured by your realtor?
Exactly. And specifically Douglas Elliman, there could be, that same ad could be running for every other brokerage, but that's the one I caught yesterday.
The modern day ambulance chasers, right?
Yeah, for real. For real. We've never fixed. One of the interesting ones, Baxaris clarified that by sharks, he was talking about the attorneys. He said his brokerage is not a franchise. It only operates in Miami. It's family operated, with the only employee being himself, his daughter, and his mother. Now, he says they never fix prices. He said that they are a 100% commission office. They do whatever they want with the commission. The brokerage makes $355 per transaction, and the agents can do whatever. So he's like, it's going to be very difficult for them to prove that we're fixing commission because it doesn't do anything for us. Which is interesting because a flat fee brokerage model, if they're one of the ones that's, let's say everyone else in this lawsuit gets sued and has to pay up except for the flat fee companies, that's going to be an interesting, I think there's going to be a lot of brokerages that take a look at that and say, let's clearly shelter it from the storm. He said, we have thousands of transactions where our realtors charge 6, where they charge 4, 4.5. It's all the individual realtors and what they negotiated. Let's see. There's also, let me get to the Pennsylvania one. Pennsylvania suit hits MLS and alleges nationwide collusion in the industry. Home sellers, Springway Center, John and Nancy Moratis and Nancy Werwam brought the Pennsylvania lawsuit in the U.S. District Court. Suit names the defendants West Penn MLS, which is broker owned and not realtor affiliated, but nonetheless adopted similar rule to NAR's competitive compensation rule. The center of the complaint names the defendants and brokerages operating in Western Pennsylvania: Berkshire Hathaway, NRT Philadelphia, which does business as Coldwell Banker, Pyatt Sotheby's, Next Home PPM, Next Home Dynamic, Realty One Group Gold Standard, Realty One Group Platinum, and Realty One Group Horizon. So the bronze standard is not being, no, I'm just kidding. I don't know if there is a bronze standard. So the complaint alleges West Penn MLS rule is manifestly anti-competitive because, among other ill effects, it compels the seller to compensate the broker representing the purchaser, even though the broker should be working for the purchaser, not the seller. All right, so Florida and Pennsylvania throw their hat into the ring of states with lawsuits versus real estate agents. I just think that Florida one's super interesting because they're not going after the big guys. It's all the little guys. Unless I'm missing it. It's going after the Florida Realtors Association. I'm just rereading it just to make sure I didn't miss it. Yeah, and these 16 companies, and they're all little guys. Elizabeth said, have you been injured by your realtor and had tainted water when you were stationed at Camp Lejeune? Yes. Get ready for the radio ads. Christina M. Smallhorn's here today. What's up, Christina? Yeah, so we'll see where this goes. Seattle-based Coldwell Banker franchise ditched NAR recently. That's also in the headlines. We're seeing, so Redfin is out. What's up, Julie? Julie's joining us on Facebook. She says bullying. So Redfin was out. Remax said that their people no longer had to join where they could not join and get access to the MLS. Several companies are kind of reevaluating where they stand with a National Association of Realtors and the forced membership policy. Seattle-based Coldwell Banker franchise ditches NAR. This reports on Inman. The Coldwell Banker Danforth said in a statement Friday, quote, it will not renew its National Association of Realtors affiliation beginning in 2024. The franchise had more than 300 agents and 5 offices across, you guys know where this is because you're from that area, but the Puget Sound region, Puget Sound region, Puget. How do you say that? Puget Sound region in Washington State.
Puget.
Puget?
Puget.
Puget.
Yes.
All right. The statement added that the company,
even though it's on the other side of the country from where I am, but
oh, you know it though. Way to go. There must be. Is there a
Puget
basketball
Sound,
team
yeah.
from there that you are familiar with?
Yeah, no. Basketball, sure.
That's right.
That's
it. The statement added that the company is, quote, first privately owned Coldwell Banker franchise in the United States to separate with NAR. The statement goes on to acknowledge that NAR has offered value to the real estate agent, but ultimately frames the move as one that prioritizes agent choice. So they're basically saying we as a company aren't going to be a member, so that we don't have to force all of our agents to be members. But if an individual agent wants to be members, they can. Can you do that? Can an individual agent become a member of NAR if their brokerage is not a member of NAR? I don't know. I'm assuming based on their statement, that's kind of what they think. But I don't know that rule. I'll have to look it up. I know that if your brokerage is a member of the National Association of Realtors, then you as an agent, if you want to work with that brokerage, have to be a member of NAR. And for us locally, I've said this before in the show, there's a board. There are boards around our area that control the MLS. And in order to be on the MLS or have access to the MLS, you have to be a member of the board. So to be a member of the board, you have to be a member of NAR. So technically, to be in the MLS, you do not have to be, you don't have to be a member of NAR, but you do because by proxy, you have to go through the local board. Just days later, Anywhere revealed that the company-owned brokerage and agents could just cut ties with NAR if they so desired. NAR is a parent company of major brands, including Coldwell Banker. Coldwell Banker Danforth is a franchise that's not owned by Anywhere itself. Remax also said its brokerages will be able to decide for themselves. So yeah, dark times for NAR. And it's kind of been dark times, I guess, since the DOJ started pushing on them. Same in Iowa. That's how it should be. What's how it should be? You think that you should have to be a member of NAR in order to be on the MLS, or opposite? So that you should be able to not be a member. Appeals court, speaking of DOJ, weighs in on the DOJ push to reopen the NAR commission rule probe. So a 3-judge panel for Washington, D.C. Circuit seemed inclined to let the agency resume its probe into the National Association of Realtors cooperative compensation and pocket listing rules. This is the thing that was settled, and the National Association of Realtors started making rules and changes and everything based on the proposed settlement that was then agreed to. And then the DOJ came back and said, wait, we don't agree to that. And NAR said, no, you've already agreed to this. It's done. You have to stick with the agreement, the settlement. The DOJ began the investigation in NAR's cooperative compensation rule, also known as the participation rule, in April 2019, nearly 5 years ago. That's the same offer of compensation that all these lawsuits are surrounding. In June 2020, after NAR adopted the clear cooperation policy, which the trade group said it was intended to curb pocket listings, the DOJ began investigating that rule. The policy requires listing brokers to submit a listing to their MLS within 1 business day of marketing the property to the public, which I honestly really don't like, because one of the benefits about the coming soon marketing was to allow our sellers to have access to a current buyer pool that they would not have access to if they had to wait a week or two before listing, because there are buyers out there right now this week looking for a home. So if I could say, hey, we have one coming soon in 2 weeks, that buyer may wait and say, oh, I'm going to wait on that one. The downside to the coming soon was that some agents were using those to try to get both sides of the listing, to withhold the property from the market or from other agents. And that's anti-competitive behavior. So NAR said, well, we'll have this rule that if you have a listing and it's coming soon, you can't market it unless, if you market it, you have to put it in the MLS 24 hours later, unless you tell everyone in your brokerage about it. You could do that. You could tell all the clients that your brokerage has about it. So this in no way curbs the pocket listing rule. If anything, it makes it worse, because now the agent that has that pocket listing can't tell the public and can't put it out there that they have a pocket listing coming up so that other agents can see it. They have to withhold that information within their own brokerage. So it actually, in my opinion, made the problem worse. The DOJ is asking now the court to allow the CCP and the cooperative compensation rule to be evaluated on their merits, and NAR is seeking to stop that probe, arguing that the DOJ agreed to close the investigation and they need to stick with what they said. Here's a quote from Judge Florence Wypan, who said, I'm looking at the language of this letter the DOJ sent NAR, and I don't see how you can read it to make any commitments about the future. Ooh. The plain and ordinary meaning of closed does not imply we'll never reopen, she said. Judge Justin R. Walker opined that NAR took a gamble when it agreed to the proposed settlement with the DOJ. Quote, you gain the benefit of being pretty confident that if the personnel and antitrust division didn't change after the election, you'd be good to go. You made that bet and you lost. Wow. So it looks like this probe is going to be opened up. I mean, if 3 judges have to look at it and 2 of the judges are saying like, yeah, it looks like this thing can be reopened. Like, how are you going to stop that? In a statement to Emin Mantel Williams, NAR's vice president of communications, said the DOJ's unprecedented attempt to reopen a closed investigation it settled years ago boils down to an apparent institutional change of heart under the new DOJ appointees. The Justice Department is not free to ignore the principles of contract law and fair dealing that bind every other party before the courts. The district court's decision that the government must be held to the terms of its 2020 settlement agreement is correct and should be affirmed. All right. Well, let's see what happens. So all this talk about NAR, you have to wonder how agents feel about it. I think, Julie, are you a fan? Julie Mazzina says you should be a realtor to have access to MLS. What's up, Scat? I see you up there. I'm gonna make
Hey, Ray.
Hey, how are you?
It's Jack. And so we've got 3 silos here, right? We have DOJ, we have lawsuits, and we have NAR. And they're huge topics in and of themselves, let alone the blurred lines between the silos. But 2 of them directly affect consumers, right? The first 2 directly affect consumers. On the first one, on the lawsuits, I still haven't been able to figure out where the damages are to the consumer. And there seems to be a trend that the loser is going to be the consumer in the whole thing. Whatever the DOJ is doing is going to be hard to figure out, because it seems like it's all political. And then, you could spend months talking about NAR and whether the value is there, but they haven't had the ability to convey their value or communicate their value to their membership, or whether it's, completely misaligned in their spreadsheet and not serving us the best way possible. But if there's a way to try to segment the three silos, we might be able to get into some better understanding of it. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, that's a smart way to look at it. The statement that how was the consumer harmed? What they're saying is that the consumer harm in a pocket listing comes from no exposure to the market and kind of a false, like, hey, you should accept this offer. On the commission thing, they're saying that realtors are paying more because this forced application of a buyer compensation to the seller. It's not true. And I think anyone that's been doing real estate for a long time has been in situations where you see a, compensation changing around and you see different numbers and stuff like that. And we know how it works practically. And the failure, in my opinion, was squarely on NAR's attorneys and these guys that went to bat at first thinking that, oh, this will never happen. And they had it wrong from the get. They didn't argue on behalf of the consumer. They didn't argue on behalf of the veteran who can't pay an agent and now has to go toe to toe with a professional negotiator that's been at it for 20 years while a veteran's trying to buy their first home. They didn't argue on their behalf. They argued on behalf of the quote, what did Gary Keller say? Agents are 1099, agents are independent contractors. Agents are independent. That was the big argument, is that the agents are independent contractors, so it should fall on us and not them. No thanks. That's broker protectionism. That doesn't do anything for me as an agent, except now you're throwing me under the bus. No, thank you. Christina says, I don't know if you're being serious or if you're being tongue in cheek, Christina. She says, if it wasn't for NAR, how would the public know the difference between a realtor and real estate agents? She said, she said, NAR dues are really helping us with redesigned logos. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. She is being tongue in cheek. This last part though, I agree with. She said, we really should have a national MLS with our NAR dues. I think that's the huge missing piece, is that all these boards and brokerages and all the little politics that are happening shows that real estate agents as a supposed group of NAR aren't working together. You have this core power group at NAR that's trying to make as much money as possible in the political arena. Then you have the brokers that are trying to make as much money as possible from the real estate agents. I mean, Georgia, FMLS, hello, all of you that are in that, most agents don't even know that you're paying a like 0.01% or whatever of the value that you have to pay the MLS. That gets a kickback back to your broker. Most agents have no idea that just goes right back to your broker. Hello, like, wake up, guys.
Is it really called FMLS?
Yeah, it's called FMLS. It's a terrible name.
Classic.
I mean, FMLS will F you, I guess. Elizabeth Nightingale says, here, Ray. Good. Thank you. I'm glad you're on my side. And she nominates Christina for president of NAR. That would be, she is the most popular real estate agent on YouTube. So she could win it. So speaking of how we feel about NAR, let's take a look at this chart from Broke Agent Media. There's a survey that was done, and this chart shows the value of NAR to realtors and the number of respondents. So basically 14.46% said NAR had no value at all. And then 4.46% said they were extremely valuable. So this is a scale from 1 to 10. The most popular rating was 2, which is just above no value at all. And that was 30.98%. So I think you're seeing a major issue with the real estate agent's perception of the NAR value. And maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Somebody maybe can argue the extreme value of NAR. I'm welcome to it. I'm probably on this 3. That's probably where my vote would be currently. And the number 1 and number 2 thing that I think they offer would be the MLS and in our state contracts. And that is really it. I like the local MLS, but there's no national MLS. There's no way for consumers to search our local MLS. It's very protectionist and, in my opinion, somewhat anti-competitive. And I am also forced to join it. And I don't want to be forced to join NAR to have access to MLS. I would rather just pay the MLS. I'd rather just pay a fee to them. Because if I'm forced to join NAR, if I'm forced to be a member, then I don't think they're going to be working for me. If they don't have to work for my membership, they're not going to be working for me. All right, real estate agent perspectives on NAR. High-performing real estate agents are having daily conversations with homebuyers and sellers, and those conversations have been made an excellent proxy for the consumer sentiment. Respondents in the October 2023 BAM and 1000 Watt Agent Sentiment Survey are aware of the prevailing pessimism among U.S. homebuyers, indicating a drop in consumer sentiment of 5.25 on a scale of 1 to 10 in July 2023 to a score of 4.56 in October. Seller sentiment also saw a slight drop from 6.66 in July to 5.89 in October. So buyer and seller sentiment is down. Agent sentiment towards the National Association of Realtors is down. Their questions were on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no value at all and 10 being extremely valuable. How do you value your NAR membership? The average score is 3.75. Question 2 was, what's the number 1 reason you joined NAR? For 58.75%, almost 60% of all respondents, including solo agents, agents on a team, and team leaders, the number 1 reason for joining NAR was the need to obtain MLS and lockbox access. The second most selected answer at 27.23 was, quote, my brokerage required me to. This is a company that has severe issues. Like if this was any other politician or any other PR firm or any other group that actually had to work to obtain and keep members, I think you would see a massive change. I mean, a massive change, not just like in leadership, but you'd see a massive change in exactly what they are doing on behalf of those members. I think that's what we're all kind of waiting for. That's what we're all holding out for. And they are starting to lose members in the states that don't require it. Which of the following statements about NAR's handling of its recent sexual harassment do you agree with most? Across all roles, the majority of respondents, 64.2, disagreed with how NAR handled it. Only 5% expressed support for NAR's leadership. Generally speaking, how do you view this issue at NAR? 44.38 of respondents believe it reflects a deep institutional problem. 22.95 view it as an issue of few bad actors within the organization. Question number 5, if you could cancel your NAR membership and still have MLS and lockbox access, would you? Nearly 3/4, 71.7% of respondents indicated that they would probably or definitely cancel their NAR membership if they didn't need it for MLS and lockbox access. The percentage increase among agents on a team, 81.5%, but dropped among team leaders to 66.46%. So there are more team leaders that are finding a little more value in NAR outside of MLS and lockbox access. But team members, 81.5%, 81.56% are out of there. Very interesting. The article goes on to talk about consumers' opinion of commission structure and things like that. That's a little bit of a different topic, so we'll save that for another day. But it's a good read over at nowbam.com. Check that out. Christina says she has no choice but to join. That's where I am too. And she says that if she was president, she'd be fired in a week. I agree. It's not that you couldn't do it. It's that you would make too many changes too fast. I would say too effective. That's what I would say. You're too effective. Okay. So how does NAR respond to all of this? Because like I said, you're going to have some huge changes. What do you guys in Clubhouse, what do you think the first step is? What's up, Sherry?
Hi.
How are you?
I am good. I am good.
So what do you think NAR's first move should be in the wake of, what is it, a 30% approval rate?
Maybe give us a year for free and show us what changes they're going to make.
That's not a bad idea. Hey guys, I know we screwed up this year. Next year is on us. And here's some big changes that are coming. And I assume you mean like changes in some policies, changes in what they're going to do for us. That would be interesting. I mean, I would stay a member. I think they would keep a lot of members for a year if they just gave them pretty much free membership.
I think they should announce a town hall meeting and take some hard questions on how they're spending money. Give themselves a forum to explain themselves to the membership. I mean, I've gotten more emails from NAR over the past couple of months than I think I've ever gotten. And yesterday's was trying to promote jackattridge.com is common and lost in the crowd. jackattridge.realtor, instantly recognizable and impactful. Really? You're going to sell me a URL? I mean, tell us, defend yourself. I mean, they've got to be hearing this. And I think this has been going on for a long time, but the DOJ case just really brought it to a head. And I will say that I think that with housing, we need advocacy in Washington. But tell us what you're doing. Tell us what that is. And my guess is that the BAM chart would drastically change if we knew what the hell they were doing.
Yeah. So you think, not to paraphrase, but if they just continued to do what they were doing, but communicated it more effectively, it would be better?
No, I certainly think that a town hall is needed to explain what they're doing, but grow from there. Don't just make it static or one-sided. Listen to your membership and react to your membership, or to your own peril. You may live or not.
Yeah, Elizabeth says that she just had to renew, and she said, not gonna lie, I was a bit bitter about it. Christina agrees with your town hall meeting. I think the town hall meeting would be useful. I think they think that at Next they communicated a lot, but there wasn't that much released about everything they said at the Next conference, NXT conference or whatever. They had the couple of attorneys on stage talking about how this isn't the end. We're going to appeal and all that. That was kind of the big news story that came out at the time. But there was nothing new announced by NAR. Because they were also going through the presidential crisis at that time. So there was no new like, hey guys, we're going to have a consumer facing MLS portal for everyone. There was nothing like that they announced. So, but their response, we do have a little bit of an indication of what they're going to do, Jack, and it's kind of up the alley of what you said. NAR hires new marketing and comms chief amid a tumultuous year. So they are going to maybe communicate better with us, Jack. You're right on.
Let's put more money into the marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They should hire Susie Orman.
Well, I mean, I think her Instagram stuff gets more views than theirs does. So she's onto something.
Probably.
Yeah, I think the numbers last year was something around $46 million or $56 million were spent on marketing consultants, and about 7 or 8 million was spent on legal. So maybe that was a bit backwards in hindsight. Suzanne Bohia, Bouhi, will officially step into NAR's role as a chief marketing communications officer on December 11th, according to a statement. Her job will involve setting NAR's long-term communication strategy. She will join NAR's senior vice president team responsible for supporting the association's CEO and executing on strategic priorities to advance NAR's mission. She says, it's my privilege to shape NAR's perspective and amplify the voice of its 1.5 million members within the real estate industry and beyond. Is that they're trying to amplify our voice? I guess so. Maybe like in politics, in the general public, I would rather they just give us really great tools to use to better serve the public. I am amplifying my voice. I don't know that you speak for me. So maybe that's going to be in the communications too. Maybe when she starts speaking for me, then we can amplify something. They got a long road to haul, in my opinion. Matt Thomas, what's up, man? He said, I feel like what we needed most from NAR is what they're not currently providing, which is protection from the DOJ and the current lawsuits. This is their moment to prove their worth, and they are not. I agree, Matt. Thanks for joining from the YouTubes. Normally Matt's over there on LinkedIn, so nice to see you on the YouTubes. Okay, one more industry news topic. Wow, and then I'm just gonna have to crush the news. We will crush the news. News is the easy side of this stuff. The the economic turmoil is way easier than this industry stuff. So I thought this was interesting. I only found it on Broke Agent Media. It said COSTAR CEO sends message to Wall Street Journal and Realtor.com. So if you haven't heard, COSTAR went to the National Association of Realtors NXT conference. I guess they had like a booth there, NAR Next. They also had a big opening party and stuff. A bunch of agents came. And while they were there, they kept hearing this thing from other agents that the competitors of COSTAR were saying that COSTARs don't support agents and they're siding with Sitzer, Burnett, that kind of thing. Well, what happened was COSTAR has a journalistic wing, COSTAR News or whatever, and they highlighted Ketchmark, the attorney that won the lawsuit. And he was like Newsmaker of the Week, Michael Ketchmark, which is probably not the greatest way to seat that article. And they didn't like promote the guy, but they were saying this guy is the biggest. It's kind of like when Time Magazine named someone the person of the year and it's like the worst person, but that's the person of the year, it's kind of like what they did. Like this guy was the Newsmaker of the Week and, here's how he made the news. He won the lawsuit. So the CEO of COSTAR, Andy Florence, sends an email to realtors, I guess, that are on their list. He talks about homes.com being the most agent-friendly platform out there. He talks about their recent growth, the trouble that other platforms are having. And then he says, I'm sure you've heard from our competitors. They're hurting. The web traffic's down, revenue's down. In response, they're lashing out, circulating rumors, and at worst, making false statements about homes.com. We heard that at NAR and NXT. I want to set the record straight. Homes.com is the most pro-agent portal in the industry. To be clear, we are not behind, nor have we supported the plaintiffs in the Sitzer Burnett trial in any way whatsoever. To suggest otherwise would be absurd, considering we are one of the defendants, one of the copycat lawsuits. COSTAR operates dozens of companies. One is COSTAR News. He tells the story that I just told you guys. And then he said, so he didn't just kind of stop there. The email continued and said, most people don't remember that Realtor.com is owned by the same parent company as a Wall Street Journal. And then he starts to pick apart the articles that were published in the Wall Street Journal. And the headlines of those articles are, home sellers take on realtors cartel. Quote, almost no one pays 6% real estate commission except Americans. Quote, the upending of America's most popular professions. Quote, the way you pay to buy or sell a home is about to change. Quote, jury finds realtors conspired to keep commissions high. Quote, real estate commissions could be the next fee on the chopping block. Quote, realtors faced antitrust reckoning and more. That's direct quoted from his from his email to real estate agents. That's what he's saying that Wall Street Journal published. Those are articles that Wall Street Journal published, and Wall Street Journal is owned by the same company that owns Realtor.com. Then he goes into some specific quotes that are very anti-agent, published by the Wall Street Journal that owns Realtor.com. And then he kind of ends saying, so clearly Realtor.com and its sister or parent companies are actually the ones who are no friends to NAR, nor to seller or buyer agents. So it's, again, you could go read that on Broke Agent Media. It's the only place I found it. For what, I'm not on their email list, or maybe I got it and it went to spam or something, but I did not get this email from the COSTAR CEO. But I like how he just came out there and was like, bam, here's the truth. Bam, here's what they're doing. And in the end, he kind of was like, but let's put all this stuff to rest and compete on the merits of product. What does their product offer agents versus what does our product offer agents? So I like it. He's smart, runs a good business, and went directly into how he was attacked and basically went reverse card. he Uno reversed them. Christina laughed and said, haha, the most agent-friendly company, quote unquote. If you recall, there was a bit there where they had an algorithm running that if you would search for an agent on YouTube, you would be shipped quickly to that agent's homes.com off of YouTube. And so supposedly, Christina, they have put a stop to that. So we will see. It was an algorithm that was supposed to pick up location information on their website that was picking up agent information on their website. That's what the president told me. Okay, let's go into some economic news. It's kind of like back and forth. I feel like this is a yo-yo. Redfin has a housing market update that says mortgage payments fall. New listings post biggest annual uptick in over 2 years. So housing payments declined after the fifth week in a row. That's great news. The typical U.S. home buyer's monthly mortgage payment was $2,557 and went down. That's still down from a peak of $2,739 last month. It's still up 13% year over year. Monthly payments are falling from their peak because mortgage rates are falling from their peak. The weekly average 30-year mortgage rate is 7.29, down from 7.79 in October. Chen Zhao, the Redfin Economics research lead, said mortgage rates are dropping due to easing inflation and investors betting the Fed will cut rates sooner than expected. I saw some people saying like, oh, there's going to be 6 rate cuts next year. I don't think that's true. I don't think anyone's actually saying that. I don't know where that came from, but saw a couple of realtors putting that out there, and I haven't seen that estimation yet. Just letting you know. Okay, next on the housing news. High mortgage rates have stifled the home buyers and sellers. Is it going to change in 2024? We do have a prediction show coming up towards the end of this month, so get your predictions ready. Zillow just released their prediction report. Redfin released their prediction report. So do a little bit of research, get your predictions ready, and we'll review how we did last year. Oh, man. High mortgage rates have limited opportunities for home buyers and sellers. Is it going to change in 2024? There are signs both sides may be willing to take on a higher rate. So we are seeing that. More than half, 54% of home buyers said they would move if they found a more affordable area to live in, even if it meant paying a higher interest rate on their mortgage. That was a survey from Bank of America. Matt Vernon, head of consumer lending at Bank of America, said Americans still believe in the dream of home ownership. They still believe it's a key component in financial success, and they still believe that it's a measuring stick of accomplishment. Many homeowners are staying put because 30-year fixed rate mortgage is at that 7.37 mark. 80% of outstanding U.S. mortgages have interest rates below 5%. Wow. The story for 2023 has been one of homeowners staying put, said Daryl Fairweather, chief economist at Redfin. Factors that have contributed to the immobility have been basically the unaffordability. It's all those factors that we talk about every single week. So that's looking to change in 2024. According to Skylar Olson, chief economist at Zillow, the problem is right now the finances block people from following the major that major fundamental change. But they're expecting that to change next year over the, let's see, when? 6 months? 62% are indicating that they're waiting for prices and rates to fall before buying a home. 85% said the same thing 6 months ago. So you have more people willing to buy despite a change in price or rates. Zillow's forecast has called for mortgage rates to be improving slowly, which means the number of new listings will also improve. Prospective buyers are hoping for big drops will be disappointed. So not a major drop, but a little drop. That's kind of what I'm seeing from other economists too, but this is not the prediction show. I will not predict today.
I think our market's going to be more dependent on lifestyle changes like relocations and people aging out of their houses, or people that can afford to do it up or down or pay cash or whatever, but less the demand that we saw for the need for different types of housing.
I agree too. I think you're going to see more people settling for smaller homes too. I think there's going to be people that they're wanting to move, but one way to save money is by getting a slightly smaller home. So maybe they're willing to go back into work instead of getting the home with the home office. They're just going to take the home without the home office and go closer into town so they can commute. Christina said there was an article that said that, talking about the homes.com. She's right. I wrote that article. Mortgage refinance demand jumps 14% as rates fall to its lowest point in August. So refi demand is the most sensitive to current rates, and we did see that it jumped 14%. It was 10% higher than the same week a year ago. Wow. The actual level of refinance demand, however, is still quite low, given that so many borrowers refinance in the first years of the COVID pandy, when rates hit record lows. You remember that 0% Fed funds back in the day? Applications for mortgage purchase fell 0.3%. They were 17% lower than the same week a year earlier. So not so sensitive are the mortgage applications, or maybe it's just the news out there. It's, as long as it's in the sevens, they're just kind of sitting there, kind of feeling the same. If it hits a different front digit, like a 6, maybe that's when you're going to see the huge uptick for buyers. A recent increase could signal that 2023 was a low point of the cycle for refinance activity, consistent with the originations forecast, said Joel Kahn. November was a stellar month for mortgage rates, and December is picking right up where it left off, said Matthew Graham, Chief Operating Officer of Mortgage News Daily. Labor market still running hot. That's one of the things that everyone's looking at to figure out exactly what the Fed's going to do. As long as that's running hot, I mean, he's probably just going to be higher for longer. All right, so here's another ebb and flow. The pending home sales dropped to a record low, even worse than during the financial crisis. So pending home sales, a measure of signed contracts on existing homes, dropped 1.5% in October from September. It's the lowest level since the National Association of Realtors began tracking the metric in 2001, meaning that it's even worse than the readings during the financial crisis. There's a reel that'll get some activity. Pending home sales are lower than the financial crisis. Just make it real hellfire and brimstone, and then tell people the truth. Sales were down 8.5% from October last year. Because the index measures signed contracts, it's the most recent indicator of housing demand. It reflects the buyers who were out shopping in October, which is when the popular 30-year fixed rate mortgage briefly shot higher to 8%. Lawrence Yun, chief economist for the NAR. That's one good thing about the NAR. I like Lawrence Yun, the chief economist. He said recent weeks' successive declines mortgage rates will help qualify more home buyers, but limited housing inventory is significantly preventing housing demand from fully being satisfied. Multiple offers, of course, yield only one winner, with the rest left to continue their search. One winner at a higher price point. We have a couple of deals right now that have been in multiple offers here in Arkansas. So we're still seeing the multiple offer thing. And it's at the move up price point and the top half of the bottom 1/3 price point. That's where we saw multiple offers just this week. All right. And one of the things I wanted to mention, this is the funniest thing. I actually sent this. I sent this to Marie Lee. I don't know if you know her, but she's in Nashville. But there's like 5 articles about Nashville on CNBC. What is going on? So CNBC is doing this series called Cities of Success. And I think they're creating like a show out of it. And then they're cutting up those shows into articles. And the reason why I wanted to share this with you guys is to say that as real estate agents, this is really what we should be doing to promote our area. You create amazing long form content, and you cut up that long form content, create articles and blog posts about that content. And then when you put it out there, people that are kind of looking around the web, or maybe they're looking at your blog, they see all these news stories. And that's what happened. So I'm covering one of them just as like because I want you guys to see this. So I'm going to share the tab. Nashville's real estate boom has builders scrambling and residents facing sky-high prices. Nashville natives say that they barely recognize the city's skyline. They probably won't anytime soon, as cranes still litter the picture. Nashville's building boom is in full effect despite higher prices, higher interest rates, and weaker national economy. So this article, they said we've had a big change coming out of 2008, 2009. We had a huge boom. We don't currently have any houses that are built, completed, and for sale and that haven't sold, said this builder. So as I've been talking to a couple of local real estate agents about this, they actually said, well, what they're not telling you is that currently there is a lot of inventory. There's more inventory than there has been lately, and that sellers are giving up concessions and that builders are giving up concessions. So this news is all over CNBC, highlighting the wonders of Nashville, how great Nashville is. But then it's also telling you that it's a really hard time for home buyers, really tough time for sellers. When I talk to a local agent with information specific to their area, the neighborhoods, like that's not the whole story. That may be kind of what's happening on the macro level, but they're still able to find their clients great deals because, and it's still a challenge to sell a house because the additional inventory is making it more competitive. But if you're only left to your own vices, anyway, if you're reading this yourself as a consumer, you're not going to know those differences. So there's 5 articles on CNBC, all kind of saying Nashville's exploding. It's a boom. There's nothing left. People are paying out the wazoo. So as a real estate agent in that area, she's got a tall task to right the ship. And you can use these stories and do like a green screen and say, if you saw this, let me tell you the full story. Elizabeth Nightingale said, Nashville's story is Charleston's story. I agree. I feel like there's a lot of, I kind of call them second cities. It's not like LA, New York. Those are kind of the first cities. The second cities, which are large cities in smaller states, I feel like they've had a boom. I would classify Little Rock as like a third city. It's a smaller, big city in a very small state. But Nashville, South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, where I was talking to another agent the other day about a city like this that just, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, exploded, and tons of people want to move there. I think Columbus, Ohio, maybe one of those, exploded. Tons of people moving there. And they've had these moments where no one can find anything. And now they may be at the other side of that, where it's starting to level out a little bit. So if you see articles like that from your area, Savannah, Georgia, I like Tybee Island. I partied on that in college quite a bit. Frisbee. Well, that's all I got for today, y'all. So thanks for joining the show. Thanks so much for Clubhouse. I appreciate you guys launching the room for us, getting it revved up. And thank you to all the commenters, everybody that joined the show today, adding to the conversation. If this is your first time, do all the subscribe-y things. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so that you can be notified of whenever we go live. You can also subscribe to the podcast to get the audio-only version of the show. That's put out about 2 hours after we go live. And if you're watching the replay and you just want to know what one of these articles is, just check the description. You have all the articles and all the sources with timestamps. You can quickly zoom to the area that you want. So thanks everybody for joining. I will see you next week. And look out on the social media post. We have the annual listeners survey. That's going to be coming out probably this week or next. And we will also have an announcement of exactly when we will have the prediction show. So thank you all for joining, and I will see you all next week. Bye, everybody.
Later, guys.
Thanks, Ray.
Have a good one.